Jazzcast Pros.
Hello and welcome back to High Vibe Table Talks. This is your host, Marshawn Hargrave. And as an entrepreneur and being in sales, I talk a lot about mindset. And a lot of times, the way that I talk about it is like hyping yourself up. I talk about reaching out, pitching yourself, cold calling, all those sorts of things. And like you have to get your body like excited to do it. But today's episode, we're going to talk about the opposite. Also, as an entrepreneur, you can feel very overwhelmed, very overstimulated, very much like your nervous system is about to tweak out because you have so many things on your plate, so many things to do, so many people that need something from you. And so your body can feel like it's just waiting for the next thing to drop so that you can just have a freak out. And so in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the 5 things that I do when I know that I need to calm myself down. I'm at that tipping point where, again, if anything else happens, I'm going to lose my shit. And here is what I do. Welcome to High Vibe Table Talks, the podcast to help you, the current or aspiring solopreneur, navigate the messy middle so you can make both an income and an impact. Hi, I'm Rashawn, and I love creating safe spaces for women to be courageous in their dreams. After spending a decade working in sales for a startup and talking with hundreds of other women entrepreneurs, I know it can be lonely, but you can do this. We are having impactful conversations with people walking similar paths to you, so pull up a seat. This is High Vibe Table Talks. Okay, number 1, and this one I think is the most easily accessible, I would say, and probably is my biggest go-to, and that is to go for a walk. When I am feeling like so overwhelmed and just like my to-do list is never ending or things aren't going right or whatever, it is both my body and my brain feel like they're about to explode. Going for a walk is so impactful. I have a nice trail on my property that I go and I do 1 or 2 loops in, and it is such a great reset button for my body and my brain. This time of year, it can feel a little bit more difficult because you do have to bundle up, but there is a lot of research about being out in the cold weather and getting that stimulation from the cold. There's also a lot of studies around the impact that having the sun on your face and what an important daily activity that is to have your face see actual sunlight. And there are so many times where I'm able to process things because my body is moving and my kind of like subconscious, I'm not having to look at email or looking at my to-do list. My brain, as my body is moving, my brain is just able to process so much more stuff. And I've talked many times on this podcast just about my best ideas have come when my body is moving and I'm not sitting behind my computer. And so that is like my biggest number 1 tip is if you are in sort of that like fight or flight and when that is hitting for your body, that is to just get up, go out and take a walk. We talk a lot about the mental piece of this, and this is another example of why it's so important. Like no one knows when your body's at that point except for you. And so you have to be aware of that before you can even do anything about it. Again, it becomes awareness and then action. So you have to be aware that your body's getting into that state before you can take the action of doing these things like going for a walk. Okay. The second thing I do when I need to emotionally regulate is read. Over the past few years, I used to be a big nonfiction reader, but over the past few years, I have started really getting into fiction, and I've read over 100 books over the past couple of years and have really found the genres that I really like. And there are a couple of reasons why this is impactful. Again, it's kind of taking the conscious part of my brain away so that my subconscious can decompress, can sort through things, just has time to sit and like evaluate what's going on. It's definitely like a nighttime activity. I read throughout the day as well, but it's definitely more of like a nighttime activity that just kind of takes my brain and allows me to go into another world, think about different things, use a different part of my brain that maybe I haven't been using all day, and just kind of like escape. People talk about reading as an escape, and it's not escape necessarily like in a bad way. Like we're avoiding all the things, we're avoiding all the emotions. It's just you can't, as an entrepreneur and as a creative, like your brain is working a lot all the time, figuring out problems, and giving yourself space to not think about it is really impactful. The other piece of it too is I love diving into other people's creative spaces. Sometimes, like I heard a saying once, that you can't see the label from inside the bottle. And sometimes you're so trapped in your own bottle, you can't see what's going on. And so to dive into other people's creative spaces, I think makes me a better creative. And so, that book, that story, those people's, those characters' problems, those characters' emotions, what they are dealing with is an escape and into someone else's creative space. And I think that makes me a better creative, and seeing how they work through problems, how they do things. And it doesn't always have to be like the most profound book ever, although I am starting off the year very strong in my readings. I have read 2 5-star books in my opinion, and I don't give out like 5 stars I hold them very close to my chest, but they just were so phenomenal. And 1 4-star book. But it can be like something silly that you just kind of like are half reading, half like skimming. It doesn't have to be like the best thing ever, but just giving your brain space to be in someone else's creative process, creative mind is my number 2 thing that I do. And number 3 is, again, none of this is probably new, something you haven't heard before, but number 3 is to brain dump. I think that sometimes our head feels so much more full than it actually is. And it can be our brain's and body's way of reacting to something that we're nervous about, being like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming. There's so much to do. How am I ever going to get this done? And it just is another outfit that fear is wearing. Fear is like, if I go into overwhelm, I'm just going to shut down and won't do anything. So I won't put myself in a scary situation. And that's where brain dumping comes into play. Because when you actually list out what's actually going on, what actually needs to get done, things become much more clear, and your brain can like then organize it. And sometimes it is a lot. Sometimes, can you not? Sometimes it is a lot. Sometimes that list is going to be long. Sometimes there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle. And sometimes what felt like a list of 1,001 things to do is actually 7. And they are very doable. They can be scary. They can be put us in a place of discomfort. Even if they are a lot of things, at least now you have an order and you can start to check things off the list. Sometimes you need a brain dump with yourself. And so that can be a piece of paper. And sometimes having a friend there can help, whether it's to make a plan of action, just get, again, someone else's brain working on the problem, kind of seeing that label from the outside of like, oh, I know how to take care of this. I know who to connect you with. I know an app that does that. I know how to use AI to help you with this. I know the perfect person that this is their zone of genius. Let me help you with that. Sometimes you don't need help. Sometimes you just need a space to get it all out. And so again, having the awareness of what you actually need in that moment, whether you just need a piece of paper and a pen or to phone a friend, those things are really important. So number 3 is brain dump, whether that is on a piece of paper or to a friend. Number 4. So I have a folder I specifically use TikTok for this one, but you can use any form of social media, it can be YouTube, it can be Instagram, it can be Threads, it can be whatever. And I have a folder on TikTok where I save videos that like make me laugh so hard that I cry. My husband thinks I'm so weird because I'll just be like, I can barely breathe. I'm laughing so hard. And I'll show him and he'll be like, okay, that was funny, I guess. But it's my brand of humor. And so when I find a video that makes me laugh so hard that I cry, I save it to that folder. And sometimes that release of laughing emotion and just getting out of the tense space that I'm in switches everything. And so I just say, okay, I'm going to spend 10 minutes and I'm going to go into that folder and I'm going to find videos that make me laugh so hard. And it's just kind of, again, it's an escape, it's a distraction, it's a getting out of the rut. And I think that things like that are what make the internet sometimes a really beautiful place. It can be a really scary, really difficult, really mean place, but times like that make me feel really grateful for a place like the internet. So finding somewhere where you can save like videos that just warm your heart or make you laugh or bring you to the bright side that is the human experience is really important. And knowing that you have that tool in the toolbox, it's something that you have to be more proactive about, because when you find that video, you have to be like, okay, I need to save this because I know when I'm in that rut and I need to pull that tool out of the toolbox, I know where it is. It's already done. So that is something that you do have to do a little bit more work ahead of time for it to be available for you later. But that is one of my favorites. And Jazzy may or may not have edited a lot of these things out, but I love my dog so much. He's very sweet boy. He's a sweet boy. He drives me crazy, but he's a sweet boy. And so, part of my love languages is physical touch. And so sometimes when I need to regulate myself, I just get a good cuddle session. That can be a pet, it can be a family member, it can be a stuffed animal, it can be, just yourself on the couch and just allowing yourself to just sit in that and be in, I have a tattoo, enjoy the precious present. And so just really sinking back into the moment, again, escaping from the spinning that is your brain is really important. And so the last one is just a good cuddle session. And dogs are so in the moment. They just are so happy to be where they are in that moment with you that sometimes it is another reminder of like, there's so much shit out there that does not matter. It's not that big of a deal. It'll all work itself out. It's okay. And so I had to add that in there because that is something that I do. And again, another tool in the toolbox for when your brain is just at that tipping point. So those are my list of 5 things that I do when I need to emotionally regulate my nervous system when I'm having a particularly overwhelming day as an entrepreneur. And especially because, and I just want to say this to kind of end, there are a lot of big things that are happening in the world right now that are scary and are hard and make me really sad and make me I don't want to say make me second guess that any of this even matters, but like it's hard to post things out on the internet about my business or about things going on in my life when like there's these huge things that are happening. Minnesota specifically is just on my heart a lot right now. And it can feel like it adds an extra level of stress to the day-to-day of being an entrepreneur. And so that's why these things are even more important. But I just want also another reminder that making money and doing things in my business so that I can donate to causes that I care about and make an impact on people bigger than myself, that this is just a reminder that I need of why I need to keep going and I need to keep promoting, and I need to talk about the things that are important to me. I am absolutely heartbroken for the people in Minnesota. I think that ICE is deplorable in the way that they're doing things right now, and the way that we are treating people in this country that are people is horrific. And so holding both of those things, like I want to grow my business and I want to speak out against the things that are important to me, are, in my opinion, heavier right now than I have ever seen in business. And so grace to you, grace to myself, that those things are really, really heavy right now. And they're both still really important. So, another reason why things like emotionally regulating your nervous system are even more important. So I hope this was helpful. And until next time, remember that big dreams and small steps will transform your life.